Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel where we're making beautiful things. So I thought I would take you through how I make my junk journals. Well, actually I call them joy journals. But this is one that is on my Etsy store and I have printed it out on standard A4 or letter-sized cardstock. And what I'm doing here is I'm using a scoreboard and a bone folder and just marking off the center point in the paper. Now, not everybody has a scoring board or a bone folder, so don't stress. This is just an extra step that makes it a little bit easier. But even if you don't have a scoring board, you can still fold each sheet in half, just normally, and then if you don't have a bone folder, you can use the handle of your scissors or an old butter knife or anything like that, just to smooth and flatten out the crease of the fold. So once you've got everything folded out nice and smooth, you then assemble the pages of your journal. Now with the printing, this particular printable is a PDF download and it has 16 pages in the download. Pages 1 to 12 are the actual pages, the pages. 13, 14, 15, and 16 are all little ephemera and elements which you can see in the corner of the screen I've already cut out. So pages 1 to 12, if you want them printed double-sided like mine, on your printer you use a setting, or on mine, I used a setting that says print double-sided and then flip on the short edge. So that's just a tip. Hopefully that works for you. Now to get my book stapled, I don't have a long arm stapler, so I've just opened up my stapler flat, pop an eraser underneath it, and staple the spine together. Now make sure when you staple the center of your book that you don't staple too close to the edges, because we're going to trim the book down quite a bit. Now you'll see I'm challenged when it comes to straight lines, so I end up, you'll see, trimming a whole lot off just because I wanted to make sure all my edges were perfectly straight. So part of the reason why there'll be a bit askew when you have finished assembling your book and you close it is because obviously the inside pages and the outside pages, there's a difference in thickness in the spine where we folded them over. So that's why we're trimming it down. But I think they moved around a little bit when I was stapling it. So I ended up trimming a whole lot off. But that's okay. I don't mind. It didn't have to be a terribly big book. I'm going to be using this book over in Embracing God's Word. And we're going to be doing a study of the Book of Acts next year. And I'll be creating a couple of these joy journals to trap notes and artwork in. Now with the little ephemera that I've included in this junk journal kit, I'll put a link in the description for the kits that you can find in my Etsy store. But with the little ephemera, some of them you'll see are little pockets and tags, and you can really just have fun sticking them anywhere. So if you are new to junk journaling, this kit is a great option in that it's got kind of everything you need, and it's all laid out for you. Now in the ephemera, the ones that are sort of pockets and little folders, you'll see they have spaces where you can fold and glue. So you'll see there's one that's an envelope and another one that's like a little pocket folder. So you'll see the edges look a bit weird. So again, I use my scoring board, but again, you don't have to have a scoreboard for this, but it does just help show me where everything needs to get folded over. So just save this video if you're making these, so you can come back and you can just double check where you fold everything to make your little envelopes and your pocket folders. But pretty straightforward, you can see. And then these little envelopes you can glue inside your junk journal, or you can just pop them inside other pockets. So the idea of the junk journals or joy journals is really just not to be perfect, but rather just use what you have and just enjoy the process of creating and combining things. So it doesn't have to be this perfect thing. So you'll see, I'll show you how I stick this in. I just fold over the edges, and you can use ordinary glue stick to stick that in, and it makes such a cute little pocket. So you can use these to keep extra notes or even keep your ephemera inside. And then for the next step, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how you can upcycle an old book to make a journal cover to keep these little joy journals inside. So these little joy journals become, we call them signatures. So they become little books that go inside your journal cover. So what you want to look for when you're choosing a book to turn into a journal cover, you want a hardcover book, but you want one where the pages are not glued directly to the spine. So you'll see this book that I've got, it's called Heidi's Children. It's an old one that I picked up at an old bookstore, and you can see that the inside pages aren't actually glued directly to the spine. The other thing you want to look for is a book whose spine is still intact. So the spine needs to still be strong and sturdy and intact. So I've used my craft knife and just very carefully cut away the pieces that are holding the inside of the book to it. And this is what's going to become the cover. So, you know, you can decorate the cover in so many different ways. You can paint it, you can stick stuff on, you can decorate it so many ways. But what I'm going to do today with this one is I'm using some scrapbook paper, and I'm just going to be sticking that to the outside and back cover of this book. So again, my way of measuring things is just kind of putting it against the book and measuring from there. But you can use a ruler and a pencil, and you can measure it exactly as well if you want. I have a very special way of measuring. But I'm just cutting the two pieces of cardstock down to size, and then I'm going to use double-sided tape to stick it on. I'm also going to take the piece of paper that's left over, and I'm going to stick that on the inside of the spine as well, and that just reinforces that inside cover. So I'm using some ordinary craft glue, and I'm going to stick this piece on the inside. This is not a must-have or must-do step. It's a nice step to do because it just reinforces and gives that spine a little bit of extra strength for all the opening and closing we're going to be doing, because it now no longer has the pages that used to be in it that was giving it strength. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm just sticking that extra piece down the center of the spine on the inside of the book. So then I'm going to use my double-sided tape. You can also use craft glue to stick down the cardstock on the outside, but I have found that when I do that, I tend to use a little bit too much craft glue, and then the paper gets a little bit wet, and then it gets little bubbles in it. But yeah, so you can glue it down. It doesn't have to be double-sided tape. The big thing with these journals is there's such a fun way to use up your stash. So the whole idea is kind of not really to go out and buy stuff, but using what you have. So encourage you to use what you have. A lot of people use, for their junk journals, they don't necessarily use a pre-prepared kit like the one I've used to make the signature that's going inside. They'll collect envelopes and old papers and wrappings from their tea bags. Really, there's so many different things you can use, and you can assemble all of those together to create the little books and work on those. So there's so many fun ways to go about doing this. And the same with the cover. You don't have to use scrapbooking paper to cover it. You could literally use anything. That's all part of the fun of making them. But I'm just going for sort of the most straightforward, easy way on this one to show you guys the simplest way to put your books together. You'll see that once I've stuck everything down, I'm going to grab my Distress Oxides again and just blend a little bit around the corners. So that's around the edges, and you'll see that just gives it a nice finish, but it's not a must-have step. And if you don't have Distress Oxides, you could also use chalk ink, you could use gelatos, and then I also finish it off with a little bit of wax. So I've got the Art Alchemy Firebird wax, which is it's like a gilding wax, and that can go on any surface and dries permanent. So I love using the wax on sort of wherever the creases and the edges of the spine in the book are, because it just gives it, again, just that extra little something. Just makes it just a little bit more special. But those are optional. There's no rules with this, so you really can do it anyway. So you can see I'm using two different types of double-sided tape because I ran out of the one. I didn't even realize it was almost finished. The red one is that super sticky, super strong double-sided tape, which I normally prefer to use for things that I know is going to be handled a lot, like the cover of a junk journal. It's going to be opened and closed a lot, but not a train smash. Like I just told you, use what you have, right? So after I decorate everything, you're going to see that I'm going to use some elastic to create I don't even know what it's called, the binding on the inside of the book, something that I'm going to slip my signatures into. And there's, again, different ways that you can do that, different ways of tying and applying them. So I would suggest maybe have a look through YouTube at different junk journal videos and see how people are putting them together. The way I'm going to show you is kind of a stock standard. The simplest, easiest way is to punch 3 holes, one at the bottom, one at the top, and one in the middle. And then you thread your elastic through those 3, and that will create one sort of loop for one signature. And I repeat that, so I do it twice. Again, this is one of those where you can save the video and then just replay it slowly, or stop and pause if you need to, so you can see how I've threaded that elastic in to finish it off. But really, that is as simple as it is. It's easy to do, and I'd love to see what you guys make. And if you make it, share pictures with me. I love seeing what you guys do. Hope you enjoy this. Bye.